say?
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to our Intermedia Game of the Week preview show. I'm Dan Ramey. He's Mike Smith, and we are getting ready for a trip back to Pickaway County. We were there last Friday night, got rained out, or I should say interrupted by lightning. Might be a better way of saying it. But that happened all across southern Ohio, it seemed, and many people had to move their games to Saturday, which we did. In this regard, let me review real quick last weekend. Logan Elm was hosting Miami-Trace, and that game got moved to Saturday morning. That was the only one I saw that was a morning kickoff. That's due to the fact that Logan Elm had Westfall there for girls and boys soccer right afterwards. So anyway, they moved all that up. Some of your teams may have played in the evening, but Miami-Trace was the big winner. We'll talk more about that when we take a look at the scores from last week across our different conferences, which this week, most of the conferences get underway in action.
Yeah, a couple. FAC will not be in action, and SOC,
right,
for the most part, they're not in action yet. So.
Yeah. Of course, we will have Lancaster at Teays Valley. This is the first meeting for them as conference members. They have played each other 2 other times in recent years, but this will be my first opportunity to see Lancaster since like 2003, and of course we saw Teays Valley 2 years ago for football. So back up to Asheville, the old stomping grounds. Looking forward to it. We'll talk more about that game coming up in a bit, but let's take a review of our other action from last week. Chillicothe finally got on the scoreboard after 2 weeks of being scoreless against their opponents. Western Brown, though, this is a team that plays a lot of FAC teams. If it weren't such a long trip down to Mount Orb, I think it would be cool to see them move into the conference.
Well, I think maybe there's even been some talk of that, but the travel will continue to be probably the nix on that.
But they've already played Hillsboro. They've got Miami-Trace on the schedule. They've played Jackson and now Chillicothe. So it's like may as well play McLean and Washington Courthouse as well, in that regard. Jackson kept Wheelersburg winless for the first 3 weeks of the season.
First time since 1969 that the Berg has started their football season at 0-3.
That's a long stretch.
Yeah, long time.
Really long stretch. We're going to see some SEC teams involved here, too. Paint Valley with a win over McLean. The Miami-Trace Logan Elm game we referred to earlier. And that was Marion Franklin that Washington was playing, and they were outmatched in that contest. Other contests to look at here. Let's move on to the Mid-State League Buckeye Division. Amanda Clear Creek, 3-0.
Yeah, after some down seasons, they've beaten Unioto and Adena out of the SVC. That was Adena's first loss of the season.
For Bloom Carroll, they bounced back from the loss against Teays Valley, picked up that win over Jonathan Alder. Circleville is off to a 3-0 start.
Yeah, and they had a rough year last year, but back in the saddle again and hoping to compete.
And back in the backyard brawl this Friday night as they host the Logan Elm Braves. Let's see. Hamilton Township picked up a big win over Centennial in a non-conference matchup. Nelsonville York was a winner over Liberty Union, so there's a matchup between TVC and the Mid-State League. And Notre Dame, out of the SOC, battling with Fisher Catholic. Fisher Catholic got the win there. And Fisher Catholic is in the Mid-State League Cardinal division. Right. So, all right. On to the Ohio Capital Conference. This is where Lancaster picked up the win at Marysville. And we'll hear from Coach Schoonover here in a moment. But one thing that's not in the interview that you will hear, while everybody was dealing with lightning or heat, they had a bus crash.
Wow.
On the way to Marysville. If you've never been to Marysville before, it's just northwest west of Dublin. So you're coming around on I-270, and the bus that had, I think he said it was the bus that had most of the starters on it, was the one involved in a crash.
Hopefully no one was hurt.
No one was injured. We can tell you that Marysville was very cooperative. They said, we're going to be late. and if you've ever traveled I-270 up around there on a Friday late afternoon, forget about going anywhere fast. And so, but it didn't rattle the kids. He said, I don't know if we just didn't have time to think about it or what, but they came right out of the chute, had some great defensive plays, had a fumble recovery for a touchdown and an interception for a touchdown. So they were on all cylinders when they got off the bus. Warren picked up a win over Logan. Newark must be something this year. 35-15 winner over Zanesville. And Pickerington Central is 1-2 after losing to Pickerington North.
Yeah, that's not typical for Central,
And Upper Arlington, a winner over Reynoldsburg. That's an OCC crossover game. And Teays Valley doing the same with Watkins Memorial, which is also an OCC, but in a different division there. All right, let's see here. We've got Southern Ohio Conference, and the one that stands out to us, you'll see a number of SVC schools involved here. Eastern Pike continues to be strong.
That was 13-8 at one point, and then Eastern went on a 20-0 run.
Wow. Waverly suffers its first loss in the season, falling to Unioto.
Yeah, Tigers out of the gate quick with big wins over Miami Trace to open things up, and you saw how good. I didn't get to see much of Miami Trace last week, just 3 minutes, but their opening drive was impressive. But, a big win there for Unioto to bounce back from an earlier loss to Amanda Clear Creek.
The only thing missing from that Friday night action you saw, the opening drive, was a touchdown, which they came up with on the second play of the game Saturday morning. And in the Scioto Valley Conference, again, looking there, Adena suffering its first loss. Huntington not finding the magic they had in week one, but Paint Valley
3-0.
Looks like they are back to Paint Valley again. Southeastern ran into Eastern Pike. Piketon picked up a win. Is that their first win?
I believe that's correct, yeah.
Okay. And Unioto bounced back from its loss to Amanda Clear Creek. And Westfall, I think Westfall has one win, if I'm not mistaken. And then St. Trace is surprisingly 0-3. It's my understanding they lost their quarterback due to an injury earlier in the season. So that's how that is playing out there. And in the Tri-Valley Conference, Alexander, Athens, Nelsonville, York, and Benton County suffers a loss there, but all the others picked up the win. Trimble is a TVC team as well, but from the other division, right?
Right, but they're always tough. Usually a Division 7 squad.
Yeah, Bobcats, right?
Tomcats.
Tomcats. I should know that because
our financial lives have never been more complex.
Of doing their TV, or their, not TV, I got TVC on my mind, doing their telephone messages and everything. So I just have too many, and Tomcats wasn't coming up to me. All right, in just a moment, we will hear from Coach Bryan Schoonover of the Lancaster Golden Gales. We, again, will not have Coach Brian Cross with us. He messaged me last night, said he wasn't able to be with us on the show, but we've got some Teays Valley notes that we'll share with you here shortly as the Litter Media Game of the Week pregame show continues. Back to the Litter Media Game of the Week preview show. Our game this week is Lancaster at Teays Valley. Golden Gales and Vikings got together for the first game last year, and now they are conference members in the Ohio Capital Conference. And Teays Valley's Brian Cross has been in the OCC before, and so is this guy. Speaking of Bryan Schoonover, is the head coach of the Lancaster Golden Gales. Coach, you've been around for a while, and you've had an opportunity to, no doubt, get to know Brian Cross, but each other for the first time on the gridiron as head coaches last year.
Yeah, growing up, when I was in school, we played against his Grove Cities teams, and they usually kicked our butt pretty good. But Coach Cross is a guy that, he's a legend of the game. He's somebody that, he's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. He's a master coach. It's kind of it's really cool to see him get back in it and get back in the OCC. You know, the week one game, whenever they played at Grove City this year, the amount of people that you see on the tape when you're watching it is unbelievable. And I think a lot of it has to do with that guy. I mean, he's done a lot for the game of football. He's done a lot for high school football in general. You know, it's been kind of cool getting to know him over the past year, and you know, I got a lot of respect for him and how he approaches the game and how he coaches. And you know, I think that it's always fun to kind of go against guys that really, you know, they progress the game and done so many things to help young people. It's neat to see him still giving back and still doing it at a high level. And so, you know, we're excited about. I know we're excited. I'm excited about competing against him. So it should be fun.
He had a lot of success at Grove City during those years, and
Oh
a
yeah.
a lot of people had their heads turned when he took the job at Canton McKinley. And then when Mark Weber left Tays Valley, I thought, I wonder who's going to fill his shoes. And here comes Brian Cross again.
He's a guy that if you watch his teams, 80s, 90s, 2000s, you know, this is a guy that has adapted to the game. I mean, he does progressive stuff with his team, and he does some new age nuances to everything. And so I think that he's a guy that's consistently working and adapting. Um, you know, he's obviously really good with kids. So it's I don't, you know, I can't say enough good things about him. And yeah, so I think he's just somebody that consistently year in and year out is always going to produce, you know, competitive teams and hard nosed teams and teams that are extremely well disciplined. And so, you know, we're going to have our hands full on Friday. So, but it'll be fun.
Tell me about the kids that you have on this year's squad. You've got no doubt some experience back, but you probably lost, I imagine, a number of uh, holes that you're starting to fill now from.
So on defense, we have one returning guy in the same spot.
Oh,
So we have one returner in the same spot. On offense, all of our skill guys are gone except for our quarterback. So we're working with all new skill guys. So we're really, really young in spots, and you know, we got some experience in some others. But you know, for us trying to, I think anytime you got about 63 guys on the roster, you know, the thing you got to look at is where can you find depth? And I think that's kind of been our thing right now. Where can we find depth at every position, and where, you know, you're still trying to fit the pieces in of where kids fit, if that makes any sense. But you know, for us, I think that you're going to see a young football team. I think you're going to see you know, a team that's going to try and play as hard as they can for 48 minutes. I think that now we might not do everything right, but they're going to try and get from point A to point B pretty fast. So, you know, I'm interested to see. You know, it's always kind of unique early on in the year, especially now with how the playoff stuff works. As before, you're trying to get into that top 8. Now you got a top 16. Well, there's only 17 or 18 teams in our league. You know, what you're really trying to do is get yourself to peak at the right time and figure out what you're good at. And so I think for us, we're trying to figure out what we're doing today, what we're trying to get better at today. And if we can do that, I think we'll be okay. But you know, we've got a young group, so we're trying to figure out if guys are in the right spot and if they're going to be able to compete in those spots.
what is it that Tays Valley does that has you concerned as you head into this contest Friday?
And I think they're tough on defense. I think their kicking game's good. I think that they have a really good kicker. I think defensively they run and get to the ball. I mean, their staff, you can tell, stresses that. I mean, they don't mess around. They're getting to the ball. And then offensively, I think they have a dynamic kid at running back, and they try and I mean, they try and run it down your throat. I mean, they're big, strong kids that you know, when they get going, they're tough to deal with. I think their quarterback does a really good job of being able to matriculate the ball downfield. I think he does a good job of managing the game, but you can just tell that in all three phases of the game, they are extremely well coached, and they know where they're going, what they're doing, because they're moving they're moving that way. They're how they get off the ball, how they use their hands, how they engage with people, how they're getting downhill. I mean, you would if you watch them play, that's what they look like. And so for us, I think it's all three phases. I think that you just, I think anytime you look at football games, well, blocking, tackling, and not giving the ball to another team really and getting the ball back kind of fall into play there. So I think that's just kind of been the point of emphasis from our end is what we have to do to control that.
I like a coach who keeps the memory of Hank Stram alive and bringing up matriculation. That
Oh, hey,
gives
well,
NFL chills. Well, Brian, good luck to you. We appreciate your time here today, and we look forward to seeing your ball club on Friday night.
absolutely. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
We'll have
Our
more.
financial lives have never been more complex, and some decisions just can't wait, which is why our K&B Mobility app gives you instant access to the financial tools you need wherever you are. Get a clear picture of all of your accounts, check your daily transactions, receive account alerts, and much more. So no matter where you are or what you are doing, you can make the best decisions for you and your financial goals. Download our Kingston National Bank Mobility app today.
Are you looking for a beer that satisfies your thirst and love of country? Armed Forces Brewing Company brews beer for patriots. Celebrate freedom with every sip. Armed Forces Brewing Company. Freedom never tasted so good.
Whenever I first applied for the Archways opportunity, oh, do I have to pay this back? Do I have to do that? Like, is it a loan? And it's not. It's a scholarship. A goal of mine is to graduate college debt-free. If you're a crew member, you get $2,500 a year, and if you're a manager, you get $3,000. And especially if you're going locally to college, like to the branch or something like that, it's really helpful.
Mark came to the Adena Orthopedic and Spine Institute in severe arm pain from a degenerative disc. Minimally invasive spinal surgery got him back to what matters most. At Adena, we do what we love, so you can too.
Accurate Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, serving Central and Southern Ohio for more than 4 decades. Give them a call for your needs at Accurate Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. 92 years of serving propane users in Southern and Central Ohio. We're talking litter quality propane. Reliable supply, reliable service, reliable people. Litter quality propane.
As we come back again here for the Litter Media Game of the Week preview show, we heard from Coach Schoonover just a moment ago. Kind of got to him a little earlier than I thought we were going to. but at any rate, here's a guy who spent 4 years as head coach at Groveport Madison, his alma mater. But he's been an assistant coach a place or two. And then here he is now starting his 4th year at Lancaster. So he's starting to get his system into place right now. And for Bryan Cross at Teays Valley, it's his 2nd full season with Teays Valley, but he's got, 40 years coaching experience of some sort, 25 of that at Grove City. And so he knows OCC football. He knows winning football, and he's got Teays Valley on a right track. I mean, you take away the week 1 where they lost to Grove City 42-0.
7.
Or
42-7.
Yeah, 7. You get that one out of the way.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, that's our first game. It's done. Let's forget about it. Let's move on to the next contest. And they came away winners, and now here they are getting ready to take on Lancaster Golden Gales.
Yeah, watching a little bit of video of that Groveport Madison game a little bit. They had some big plays that I was watching. Some of the stats that I got from that one loss, I said Groveport Madison, sorry, Grove City. Grove City had 410 total yards that night to 246 for Teays Valley. But the Vikings had trouble throwing that night. Only 79 yards passing compared to 167 running. Now, in the next 2 games in which they've won, I have not been able to find any stats to show if they were able to improve on that passing game. But a lot of these schools that they're going to be playing in the OCC, if you don't have a balanced attack, you're going you're going to have some difficulties. But in the video that I saw of Grove City, they did have 2 or 3 nice pass plays. Brady Farmer is the 6'4" quarterback for Teays. He is 6'4", as we said, a junior. But seeing him throw a little bit to their tight end, which is Luke Burgett, a 6'3" senior. The big running back that Coach Schoonover was referring to, Peter Graham, 6'1", 198. He's just a sophomore. And most of the big plays that I saw in that little bit of video I watched was coming from Graham out of that running back spot.
And he referred to the strong kicker, Max Spencer, has got a leg on him, and he can put that through the uprights if necessary, but he also punts. So you look at special teams, that's that third phase of the game, and sometimes games are won or lost due to that one.
I guess one of the impressive things that I hear Coach Schoonover talking about his club at Lancaster is that they lost all of their skill position players, and yet they're 2-1 against some pretty good competition. Yeah. I believe he said all but one of their defensive players lost to graduation.
Right.
So you're starting almost from scratch as far as experience, and yet you're 2-1. That gets my attention pretty quickly, because usually you've got to have that experience in leadership. But apparently these players are catching on rather quickly. Be interesting to get to watch them kind of picking the brain of our buddy Tom Wilson over at the Lancaster Eagle Gazette and getting some of his thoughts on what he's seen out of them this year. They
started off the season with a 39-8 win over Akron North. Then Wayne Valley, New Jersey, is who they played in week 2. That was a loss, 28-7, but came right back with the win over Marysville, 28-14. And they had that crash on I-270. You would think it would rattle, throw disorganized thoughts into everyone's mind. But Coach said they just went to the locker room, strapped on those pads, didn't have much time to think about it, and they just went out to the field. And started off, had a 74-yard touchdown fumble recovery by Hunter Metz, one of the defensive backs. And then they had an interception by Braylon Young that was a 90-yard pick six. So they've not only got the ability to cause turnovers, but capitalize on those. And going 74 and 90 yards, they may have some wheels. Yeah. You got to think about that too. I know in the interview I mentioned to him about you've got the new school that's being built, and so he said it hasn't been much of a distraction for their everyday efforts because it's being built behind the existing campus. So I think back to other times I've seen like Chillicothe go through the building phase. Logan Elm went through that last year. Many schools go through this with their new facilities, and it's just total chaos for some kids. You know, it's not the norm that you had when you walked in, but kids are pretty resilient.
I've not been over to Fulton Stadium for a while. Are they still playing on natural grass over there?
I can't say because I haven't seen it for a while either.
Because they're on the artificial stuff this week at Teays Valley. And there is a difference for the fans that have never had experience to be on one or the other in a playing mode. That artificial stuff is fast.
Yeah.
It's a lot faster.
And it'll be used for not just football, but also marching bands. And Lancaster and Teays Valley both have very entertaining marching bands. So kind of excited about that at halftime.
That's it.
If you have a halftime guest on, I'll probably hand them the headsets and I'll watch the bands.
Well, I don't know if Tom's coming over to the game that night to cover it because he's covering a lot of Fairfield County, not just Lancaster High School, but I have invited him up, and if not, maybe we can get Brian Barnett, whose golf team just won an OCC championship.
Yes, and if we can keep him away from the pizza.
That might be a struggle. He may be up there anyway for that, so I don't know.
Well, we were there for Bloom Carroll's playoff game against Bishop Watterson last November, and it was like, okay, let me finish this pizza, I'll come over for the interview. So.
Priorities, Dan. Priorities.
That's right.
Yeah, all right.
Absolutely. The two teams, to the best of my knowledge, have only met twice, speaking of Lancaster and Teays Valley. The first meeting was 2020, and that was a 24-0 win for Teays Valley over the Golden Gales. But last year, the Golden Gales picked up that 24-17 win over Teays Valley. So that's where that stands for you as we head into this Friday's contest. All right, coming up in just a moment, don't forget we've got our Player of the Week. Neil Coleman Insurance, Wyandotte Mutual, Litter Media, presented by Homeland Credit Union. That is on the way in just a moment. Stick with us.
As a professional race car driver, I live for speed, power, and performance on and off the track.
All right, well, here we go, baby. Wall on your left, three to your right, hard left, get on the gas, going for the win. There you go.
That's why I use the Dixie Chopper, the world's fastest lawnmower. Race into your local dealership today and test drive a new Dixie Chopper.
This is Andy Tomlinson. When insuring what's important to you, our agents are there when you need us the most. Tomlinson Insurance, for the best coverage at the best cost. Visit us online at tomlinsonins.com to learn more.
Serving our area for more than 4 decades, Accurate Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. If you click on any ad on our website, you'll find more information. AccurateHVAC.com.
Find a career you love with Pickaway Ross Adult Education. Skilled trades careers are in high demand with no signs of slowing down. Pickaway Ross offers career training programs with expert instructors and hands-on learning tactics to create a variety of opportunities. Visit our website for more information.
There's no bill when there's a fill. Contact Litter Quality Propane today about our metered gas service at litterpropane.com.
Our financial lives have never been more complex, and some decisions just can't wait, which is why our K&B Mobility app gives you instant access to the financial tools you need wherever you are. Get a clear picture of all of your accounts, check your daily transactions, receive account alerts, and much more. So no matter where you are or what you are doing, you can make the best decisions for you and your financial goals. Download our Kingston National Bank Mobility app today.
Find a career you love with Pickaway Ross Adult Education. Skilled trades careers are in high demand with no signs of slowing down. Pickaway Ross offers career training programs with expert instructors and hands-on learning tactics to create a variety of opportunities. Visit our website for more information.
At Country Clipper, pride runs deep. We take pride in knowing our mowers help create a space for families to make memories. That our features transform mowing into an enjoyable experience. Most importantly, we take pride in knowing the decision to purchase a Country Clipper will be one you can be proud of for years to come. Country Clipper zero-turn mowers.
Each week, we'll announce the Neil Coleman Insurance Wyandotte Mutual Litter Media Player of the Week, presented by Homeland Credit Union. And in December, we'll announce the Player of the Year. Nominate any amateur athlete by visiting littermedia.com and click on Player of the Week. You'll also see the players we've named throughout the year. Make your nomination today for the Neil Coleman Insurance Wyandotte Mutual Litter Media Player of the Week, presented by Homeland Credit Union.
And it is time to do that right now as we look at the world of golf again for the Chillicothe Cavaliers. Aiden Fisher, who has had the low scores for the Cavaliers this year. He's been a meet medalist a number of times. He, along with his teammate, Nick Haller. Vince is Nick's little brother.
Yeah, all right.
But at any rate, they both shared medalist honors a number of times throughout the season so far for Chillicothe. But he had that lowest score of 35. He smashed that a couple of times and had a low score for 18 holes of 65.
Yeah. Cavs are right there in the hunt as they go into their championship. Final 18 holes will be next week on the 17th over at Franklin Valley, which is in the Jackson area. We found out that's where it's going to be played.
So our hats off to Aiden Fisher, our Neil Coleman Insurance, Wyandotte Mutual, Litter Media Player of the Week, and that's presented by Homeland Credit Union. If you've got someone that you would like to nominate, please do so. And you can find out who all the players of the week have been for this year so far on our website, littermedia.com. All right, coming up in a moment, a few final words that we'll share with you as we put a wrap on the Litter Media Game of the Week preview show. Details next.
This is Andy Tomlinson. When insuring what's important to you, our agents are there when you need us the most. Tomlinson Insurance, for the best coverage at the best cost. Visit us online at tomlinsonins.com to learn more.
I was looking for a first job. I had been babysitting and decided it was something for a little more permanent. It pays very well. It's convenient. You can make your own schedule with the flexibility. That's something that I like. The people that I work with are great. I wouldn't ask for a better crew or management team to work for.
Pain was interfering with Tiffany's active lifestyle. Same-day hip replacement at the Adina Orthopedic and Spine Institute got her back to the community she calls home. At Adina, we do what we love, so you can too.
Are you looking for a beer that satisfies your thirst and love of country? Armed Forces Brewing Company brews beer for patriots. Celebrate freedom with every sip. Armed Forces Brewing Company. Freedom never tasted so good. Each week, we'll announce the Neil Coleman Insurance Wyandotte Mutual Litter Media Player of the Week, presented by Homeland Credit Union. And in December, we'll announce the Player of the Year. Nominate any amateur athlete by visiting littermedia.com and click on Player of the Week. You'll also see the players we've named throughout the year. Make your nomination today for the Neil Coleman Insurance Wyandotte Mutual Litter Media Player of the Week, presented by Homeland Credit Union. Our Litter Media Game of the Week is Lancaster-Teays Valley, and coverage begins about 10 minutes prior to kickoff at 7 p.m. If you want to follow along, Litter Media Radio, just scan that code right there or take a look on our website. You'll find the radio player itself that is everything that we're playing on the radio shows up right there. So if you would like to tune in, please do. And we look forward to going back to Pickaway County. I was showing Mike a photo from my phone just a moment ago of a kid named Derek Combs, and he was one of the top running backs at Grove City when I was doing Chillicothe broadcasts, and that was where I first met Bryan Cross. And haven't seen Bryan for years. I mean, a long time. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait to hook up with him on Friday night at Teays Valley's Viking Stadium.
I gathered that when they decided to reach out to Bryan to come to Teays Valley, it was knowing his experience in the OCC because that's where they were headed.
Yeah, that was my guess as well. And Mark Weber had stepped away, and next thing you know, he's showing up in Mount Vernon, mm-hmm. which is also an OCC school. So it'd be neat to see Teays Valley and Mount Vernon play each other in the next couple of years, but they've probably got all that scheduled out a few years in advance. So, all right, that's it for the program. Thank you so much for watching today. And again, we will be starting up about 6:50 Friday night in Asheville. For Mike Smith, I'm Dan Ramey. Thanks for watching this edition of the Litter Media Game of the Week Preview Show.